Hey, this is Amber from 200fingerstoes.com, and I am going to talk to you a little bit about record keeping. So, are you swamped in paper? Are you not the most organized parent in the whole wide world? Then let's have a little discussion about the ways that we keep the paper typhoon at bay in our homeschool. So I have been homeschooling for a million years, and we have 10 kids. If you multiply those two things against each other, it comes up to like 7 million pieces of paper that we have had to file, dispose of, or keep in some sort of sanctioned way over the last 20 years that we've been homeschooling. So how do we tame the paper monster? There's a few things that I would just like to share as really helpful things that we have discovered over the time that we've been homeschooling. One is minimize. Minimize the paper load in your house. That is just one of the best ways to reduce the things that you have to manage in the first place. How do you minimize the paper load? Let me share some ideas. For math, I use those little boogie boards. It is an electronic LCD board that when you write on a pencil, and then when you want to delete, you just push the button and it deletes. It's kind of like the modern day wipe off magnetile board. Remember when we were little, you'd write on that and wipe it off? Yeah, this one is just one of those with batteries. So, you have to, but actually the battery has lasted forever. So they're not that bad even in that aspect. But those have been a huge help for math practice because we don't have to have a math notebook per se. They write notes and maybe do a little bit of detailed work while they're listening to their lesson. But for the actual just practice, our kids have been able just to write on those. I also bought a writable tablet that connects to the computer. So they can actually, like a Wacom tablet, but it's smaller and way cheaper. And they're able to use a digital pencil and just write directly on that pad. And it goes right into the notebook page of their online math. So, which brings me to another topic, online topics. So one of the ways we have reduced our paper is that we do math online. And that really helped us because I am a homeschooling mom of 10, and I cannot possibly correct the math for 5 students every day, 5 days a week. It's just too much. And so God bless every public school teacher who has time to correct 30 students times 7 periods a day, every day. You are magical and amazing, and I don't know how it's done. But in my homeschool, I knew that was an area that I was just a deficit and I wasn't doing a good job staying up on it. And so I actually chose to move to a digital math program. So our math is hosted online. Now this year I'm going to make a change and we're actually switching to a video program. And so I'm going to try that out and I'll see how it goes. I'm not real sure, but I'm willing to try it. I just, sometimes we got to make a change and see if something works better for your family. But as far as record keeping goes, I will say that moving to a digital format is one way to just reduce the amount of paper. Now, another subject area that has a lot of paper is science. It seems like there's a lot of vocabulary words, a lot of definitions, a lot of diagrams and things like that. I personally really like Apologia's science. I get they are very in depth. They are very particular and super detailed. And so it can come across as a lot. Here's the caveat. I felt like it was the one subject that really prepared my children for college level work. And it put a demand on them that I don't think I probably would have met in the same way. And so even though I did not like the tedium and I felt the extensive level of work and the high demand in the grading criteria, I felt like it really helped my kids rise to a higher level in their work. And so even though I didn't enjoy the work aspect, again, our job as parents is to see the long game. And so I do see that in the long game, that science was probably the one topic that really helped my children be prepared for higher education in the most broad sense. And so, but that given, I like that Apologia does offer a student journal. So it is spiral bound and it is a huge beast of paper, but all that paper is in one place. All that paper is bound. I can grab any person's binder and I can open it to the given page that they should have done, and I can see whether it is done or whether it is not done. And that is a huge blessing to a busy homeschooling mom. I am not chasing paper. And if you have spent years chasing paper, you are over it. And that's probably why you're listening, is like, how do I stop chasing paper? One of the ways I did that was anytime that there is a student journal available, I'm just going to buy it. I spent years and years and years buying the digital version of curriculums and printing at home because honestly, I just didn't have the money to buy 5 workbooks. It was not in my budget. So if you are not able to do that, do not feel guilty, because it is only in recent years that I am able to buy individual workbooks for my kids. Now, if it was not available to print in the digital format, then I bought the workbooks. I just feel like providers who create tools for homeschoolers deserve to have their due. And so if it's something that I would have to pirate or I would have to make multiple copies of that I don't have permission to do so, I'm just not going to do it. I feel like we need to honor that with our publishers, and that the people who create tools for us deserve their due. And so if you want to buy it used, if you want to find it cheaper that way, do so. But I just don't feel right about copying something that's not going to be copied. Now, most things that are created for homeschoolers, you have permission to copy those for multiple students within your family. And so I have not seen any that are not that generous to say if you have multiple students using the same book that you can make copies. But I'm talking about making multiple copies for multiple students every day. It was just tedious. And I felt like we lost more paper than we probably ever successfully got returned to us. And so now I feel like it's actually time and money better spent if I buy a decent quality workbook and we make the accountability that comes back and gets tracked and checked in on a regular basis so that it gets completed and we get our full value out of it. I think a lot of times we're hesitant to buy a workbook because we remember all the empty workbooks that we didn't follow up on and that maybe didn't get utilized well. So creating accountability is going to be the key to getting the highest value out of that item. And I think if we just make that a habit, then we can be really successful and we can get the most use out of those tools. So I will encourage, if there's a workbook available and it's within your means, I would purchase that and streamline that paper to be kept in one place. The third thing I have done is I have created a turn-in location. So if it is not in the turn-in bucket, it does not exist. I will have children ask me, hey, where's that Greek paper? I turned it in. I'll say, no, you did not turn it in because it is not in the turn-in bucket. You may have handed it to me randomly when I was walking through the kitchen in a delirious state looking for a cup of coffee, but I hadn't had coffee yet, so I have no idea where your paper is. Stop handing me things because I am irresponsible in the morning. I just am. I'm sorry. It's just a thing. But now with the turn-in bucket, they know the safest location to take their completed work is to put it in the turn-in bucket. And I happily find it. On Fridays, I go through it and make sure everybody's logged out for the week and everybody's completed all their requirements so that they can have their free time and enjoy their weekend and go to football games and do the things that they want to do and be free. And if they don't, then they just get to hang out with me at home, and that's fine too. So having a location where everything goes is going to help you not have to chase down everybody for their work. Your job is to create a location where work is turned in, and then you don't chase people down anymore. If it's not there on Friday at 4, they just get to hang out with you, and you just have like a special time cleaning out the pantry or scrubbing the fridge or doing something fantastically horrid so that they definitely remember next Friday that they don't really want to repeat that exercise. And be cheerful about it. I just try to be really happy and not a problem. And I feel like the less reactive I am about unfinished work and the more concrete I am about the consequences of it, the more peacefully we have resolved conflict in our house. So a lot of times it's just seeing a problem and then solving that problem in a creative way. So the paper avalanche is typically just an organization problem. And sometimes just creating a few consistent locations for things to be returned just solve a problem in a way that nagging and bugging people was really unpleasant. And all of a sudden that problem is now gone. So it's fantastic. Let's see. So record keeping also, maybe you have a digital place. I will encourage you this. If you have high school students, I would start keeping their transcript now. Even if you have a junior high student who is doing high school level work, I would begin notating that on a transcript form. You can find one online. HSLDA is a good source. Homeschool Iowa is a great source. Sunlight Curriculum has a download. You can download their free little booklet that's high school transcripts, and you can just print it, and it has some information about high school transcripts, and it has a little form you can just fill out. I think if you're a Homeschool Iowa member, you can get the fillable form, so you can just fill it online and keep it online. But there's tons of resources on there. I'm not going to make one because you can find it like at a click. And so I don't have one, but I just told you 3 places where you can get one. And so I encourage you to just grab a simple copy and keep it in your mom binder. Put it in your student's page and just start making a note on that. It doesn't have to be your formal one, but that way you have a document that's already begun. So you're not scrambling when your child graduates high school and you're trying to remember what we did 3 years ago. Because I know it sounds easy, but it's not that easy 3 years down the road. And so I encourage you for record keeping, if you have a digital online source, you just keep a file on each child. If you have to fill out paperwork for the school year for your state, I dual enroll in Iowa, and so I have to fill out a competent private instruction Form A, and I turn that into the school as part of my dual enrollment. So when I do that, I have to put in what we're studying for the year, our courses, and so I just print that and I just keep it for myself in a file. And that way I have a record of what we've done. I don't have to go back and find it. I just have it tucked away, really simple. And so you can make your life a lot easier by forecasting ahead the things that you're going to need. I always include the title, the year of publication, and the edition. That way, if you need to find it again, or if you need to keep a record of it, you have all of the important information, and the publisher. So again, the title, the edition, the year it was published, and then the publisher. And that way you have all the information that you need if somebody wants to find out about the book that you used. Should it come into question or whatever. Or maybe somebody just wants to learn from you and you can share some vital information. So that's a great way to help yourself at the end of the school year, and some really important record keeping that's going to help you. On that note, so you have a student who hates school, who struggles with math, who does not want to go to college, and you see that from their level of work, they're confirming they're definitely not going to college. Do not neglect to write a transcript for that child. I have a dear friend whose child had graduated for 8 years, and he decided to join trade school, and they wanted his high school transcript. His homeschooling mother had to scramble because that child was determined not to go to college and had no reason to need a transcript, but she literally had to dig up all of the information and build his transcript because she had not created one when he graduated. Now at 26, because he decided to go to trade school, he needed a transcript. It will be much easier for you to just compile that as your child goes through high school, and then just print it up and keep it on a file. Keep a digital file on your computer, but keep a hard copy file in their records. I know I just have a hanging file, and I just have a file in that for each one of my students and my children, and I just keep their personal information, birth certificate, important papers, whatever, in there. And in that, I'm also going to keep their transcripts. And when they become an adult and get married and move out, I give them their file, but I'm going to also keep a copy of their transcript because I don't entirely trust them with their file. Okay. I just want to make sure that I have that portion covered because that's on me and that's my record that I was supposed to provide. And so I want to make sure that I have that done for them. So I have a graduate that graduated last year, and I have not completed her high school transcript. So I know what my homework will be over this weekend before we start this new school year, will be to A, complete her high school transcript, and B, begin a transcript form for my 3 students who are in high school right now. And so I want to get them caught up and up to date so that their transcript is ready to go as well. So that is just a few of the tips I have about keeping the paper typhoon at bay and just reducing the amount of papers you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. One other tip I had is we do just a binder. So each child just has a binder. And then in that plastic sleeve in the front, I don't have one in front of me, but I just slid a piece of paper that had just a little line item for each thing they had to do. So it's like math, science, reading, social studies, chores, and just a little box. And then because it was behind that plastic sleeve, every day I had them just check off on that list, or at least just technically look at it and keep track. But instead of printing a schedule page each day, it just helped us to have that simple wipe off page. And again, reduced paper that I had to print. Oftentimes I was having to print in the morning and it just was becoming something that stalled out our day and didn't help kids move forward. And so anytime I see something that's causing us a hiccup or causing us a delay where children are A, losing interest, or B, moving on to something else because I wasn't ready, I'm going to find a way to solve that problem so that it doesn't keep occurring. So, again, look at creative ways to solve maybe your record keeping problems as well. So if you have any questions, again, I am Amber at 200fingersandtoes.com, and I look forward to talking to you in the future episodes of the In Due Season podcast. Thank you.